Alrighty, guys, it is 3:30 this Thursday, March 20th. And man, we have an interesting market, right? So this morning we came into a market which was pretty much in a massive sell-off. They started heading lower in a big way. Big move to the downside right here. And it felt very much like we were going to fall out of bed. Turns out that we ended up with a massive morning rally right up here to the upper levels at 5760s. Tested, tried to take it higher, failed, started taking it lower and retraced almost all the way down again. So now we are back to kind of where we started, right? So that's the market at this point. And we have not seen a test of the lows yet. So that makes me semi-optimistic, to be honest with you. So at this point, I would say that we are range bound. I would maybe keep a slight bias to the upside, but primarily range bound. If they get up above the 57.25s again, especially this I print at 29, I would be more inclined to look for the long side. But they kind of had to clear these resistance areas. Right now, there's been one, two, three times now they failed to take out the 57.60s. And third time they definitely someone covered, and they definitely covered their positions and knocked it down pretty hard. And we are pretty much holding in this range right now. So I would be looking at the range bound trading. We haven't really run it lower. It doesn't mean it can't happen going into the close, but I would be looking for weakness into the close. If I don't see it, maybe just stay range bound into the overnight. So at this point, I'm not. If we get a nice little rally going into the close, I would be very happy. But if it doesn't happen, we stay range bound, or we see weakness, I would stay still. I would still start looking for early weakness in the overnight and see if they can take this lower. So that's kind of the dynamic right now. The fact that we haven't gotten up above the volume weighted mean, we're kind of holding. We see the mean is right here at the 24 level. As long as I hold below here, I would be looking for weakness going into the close. And if they close without retesting the lows, I would be modestly optimistic that we may see a range bound market in the overnight. Now, we don't have much to go on going into tomorrow. So tomorrow's news is pretty much non-existent. We have quadruple witching, the options expirations tomorrow, and that's about it. So no news really to drive the market tomorrow. This could be an interesting day to see where they're going to take this. But early on, I had one trade, and look at that. I mean, I should ask, I'd been stuck in that trade, right? That was this trade. I was short up here. I took that short, got knocked out of it. They took it a little bit higher, and that was the high of the day. So now I'm thinking like, shit, it could have been a great trade, couldn't it? Then again, you don't know. I didn't re-engage it because with this kind of a backdrop, you think it could take it a little bit higher, but turns out that they were just slowly grinding this lower from there. And this is difficult because if you're looking at buying this pullback to the tab, that would be the first entry you tried. You had a small winner going there, and thereafter they just grinded lower. So you had to, yeah, small rotations, but net to the downside. And so you had a couple of shots potentially to get out of trades if you try to get long. Trying along against the tablet, trying along against the mean would have been opportunities to try. The only thing which would have worked was the tablets for a small trade. The mean did not give you a trade. That would have been just getting you stuck in a shitty spot. Unless you bought it right on that rundown, but that would be stepping in front of a nice. The retest here at the mean did not work out at all. So there's been like a net selling component to this all the way down here. And now they're pretty much still holding below the volume weighted mean and still feeling very much volatile and still kind of to the weak side. Now we'll see how they close. Okay, the closing is important. So if they can get up above the 25s here, the mean into the close, we'll start off range bound. If not, I'm going to look for early weakness. So that's the ES going into the overnight. One trade, $5 on the ES so far. NASDAQ, the only thing I had is two trades. One early on, both of them were shakeouts. It got a little bit of each because I moved my stop a bit, but none of them turned into be any big trade. So $22 on two contracts on the NASDAQ. But the first trade I took on the NASDAQ was I believe, a short. There was a short up here on that first rotation. Given that pullback and the rotation back to the mode and then started failing, felt like a good spot to get short, a good trade location. It went to break even, had a good trade going, and then it stopped me out just to see that the last leg lower. That was sucky. If I didn't take profit early, I would have been stopped out anyway. So it's just very volatile. And then I took one more trade here on the rotation down. a long trade as the stall. So I was looking for rotation back up. It went to the midpoint, got shaken out before that, so I only had like $10 out of that trade. So two trades, $22. That's all I have. But I was saying same as the ES. They backed off pretty hard. They were up very well in the overnight. They were down in the overnight. They traded right back up and then right back down again. And so far we're kind of holding in this middle range here. So I would start off range bound on the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq is pretty much in the middle of it. Well, no, it's kind of it is a little bit to the upside. So as long as they hold above that 700, we're in pretty good shape on the Nasdaq. If they can get up above the 20,000s, I would be more inclined to think long side of the market or range bound. But at this point, just starting off looking for early weakness to see if they can retest these lows. That's kind of the way I'm starting off on the Nasdaq. So looking to buy against this lower edge, the 800s, the 760s, here down to the 700s for rotations back up. But looking for that early weakness, and if they take out that 800 or the 700 volume edge, I think it could get pretty ugly. So still very much a volatile market. Now the bond market backed off. They were up in the overnight. Oh, no, sorry, they were up then down in the overnight. No, that's wrong. They were up in the overnight and then they backed off a little bit. They backed off in midday and then pretty much held at this lower range. They haven't taken out the 1720s yet. So far, I would still be looking at buying against this area, the 1720s for rotations back up. If they take it out, I would be looking for a retracement trade back down here towards the 117s. So at this point, watch that edge, the 17, 20, 22s. That comes out. I can see it move quite a bit lower, or at least back off this upper levels. Because remember, 118 was one of these upper levels, upper end of the range. So that's the bond market. I haven't traded bond today. I've been trading bond for a while, actually. Finally, oil and gold, and not much to say about those guys. Gold is slowly grinding to the upside, but it's been pretty darn range bound throughout the day, so not much going on with that guy. So range bound trading on gold going into the overnight. I would be looking at on gold, I would be looking at selling against the 54s, the 59s, up to the 65s. I would be looking to buy against this lower edge. It's going to be lower 37s and the 30-32s for rotations back up again. Below 30-32s, I would look for a retracement back down here to the 3000s. It could be a nice $30 move to the downside. But we'll see if they're done, or if they're still trying to take this higher. So looks to me like they kind of ran out of gas, but they're still extended. So they're still in stage one on the profiles. Now today tomorrow may be the day they cut off the buying, because yes, today's overnight was still extending to the upside. Now, if you look at the day session, you can make a case that we're entering stage two. So I'll leave this one open. But if we start seeing that weakness, they start pushing down to the 30s. I'm thinking that we are in stage two, looking to find a spot to cut off the selling to enter that stage three of the profile. And then finally, oil, a little bit to the upside, holding on to the 68.20s. I'm not sure they're going to be able to hold on to that for too much longer, but looks like a little Middle Eastern risk premium is on oil at this point. But in the bigger picture, oil is still very much. Let me see if I can find my capital flow on oil. Looks very much like they are, but just up a reverse retesting that 68 level. Now, if that holds, probably looking at the move down again. If they trade up above it, I can see them run up to that attractor here at the 70s. That would be my next target to the upside. But that means they're taking out this 68 level. So that's oil, but I don't think the upward pressure on prices for oil is not going to be long lasting. So I would still look for short opportunities. All right, back to the ES, and so far, let's see how they end up closing. Important if you're going to see if they get up above that 25, 26 level, we may have a shot at a little bit of strength in the overnight. Otherwise, starting off range bound, looking for that weakness, see if they can retest the lows. All right, guys, we'll wrap it there. So far, just one trade on the ES up $5. Two trades on the Nasdaq, both shakeouts up 22. That's about it. All right, guys, see you in the morning. Have a good one. Later.